Are you tired of being called a controller player or an aim assist abuser?
Bruh.
Do you feel like every time you plug in the mouse and key,
Well, you've come to the right place.
Gridshot!
Alright, today we have for you an aim trainer. This is called Aim Labs. We're going to start off with Gridshot. With Gridshot here, I try to focus a lot of my accuracy and my speed and my reaction time. You really want to focus on accuracy in the beginning. You don't just want to step in and just like, full on go ham. A lot of the time you'll end up just getting really shaky movements. So first thing, I'm going to take all this stuff off, because right now I'm not focused realistically on recoil or anything else. I just want to basically focus on clicking parts of my screen. My crosshair here, I'm not actually going to play here, it's just a red dot. This is much like the 1x in Apex. So first thing, I'm just going to really focus on accuracy and getting to the target and clicking. So I'm going to click, move, click, move, click, move, click, move, and making sure you're trying to move on your click to the next target. You're not trying to, move and click at the same time. Like, I don't want to, like, flick to that at the moment. I just want to, like, click, move, make sure my flicks are trying to get in the center of the target. Also, my hand grip right now is, like, not correct. What you really want to focus on in the beginning of this is accuracy and your hand grip, your seating position. Make sure everything is in the right spot. You know what I mean? You don't want to be too hunched over. You really want to kind of be, I'm actually more hunched over than I should be. I want to be sitting up more straight than this. Make sure your hand's not like, too in the table, because you want to have movement. If you're too, on the table, your arm's going to stop you from moving really fast. And then it's going to cause you to want to have a really high sensitivity. If you feel like you can't move fast enough, a lot of the time it's just either you're not using your wrists enough, or your arm's not able to move enough. Because realistically, if I'm sitting in the right spot, there's no way that this isn't going to be fast enough to hit anything. That is super duper duper fast, right? So just make sure, again, you're going for accuracy. Let me turn my audio on here. There you go. So just focus on accuracy and getting those flicks to the next target. I will discuss how to visually see all of this after you just focus on, hitting a target, clicking. And a lot of time people will, like, they'll get there and they'll, like, be kind of jerky when they're shooting. You want to try and stop before you click, so you get like a solid spot that you're clicking on, right? You don't want to be too jerky with it. I end up getting too jerky with it a lot of time in the beginning. I end up trying to go too fast. But after a while of doing it, it'll, slowly pan itself out. Alright, now that we've maintained some accuracy, we're going to start moving up speed a little bit. And now what I want you to focus on is seeing these three. So you see these three right off the beginning. Now you need to know, if I have my cursor right in the middle, these spots on my screen are, they're in a specific spot on the screen when I don't move my cursor, right? And at this very point in time, I can, consciously say if I can hit all 3 of those without having to like realistically think about moving to the next one. Like I should be able to just go click, 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 right? Because I've already seen where they are, right? I can already see one movement to the next one to the next one, and you see all those movements at once, and that'll help you, you know, be able to see your next target rather than just focusing on one target. And the faster you can do that, you'll be able to pick up all 3 of these, and by the time you even finish that 3rd one, you've already picked up the next 3. You still want to maintain accuracy here as much as possible, while slowly speeding up. I guess you don't want to speed up too fast, but you definitely want to speed up a little bit than what you were doing in the first couple rounds of this. The more you speed up in this, the more I want you to disconnect the movement of your hand from like thinking about it at all. You want to let your eyes just work at looking at the object that you want to shoot at, looking at the part of the screen that you want to shoot at, and just focusing on clicking that part of the screen. Don't worry about, you know, your hand moving there. Just try and get the click and your eyes to do the same thing, right? The more you can get the disconnect away from, you know, having to think about moving your hand and just let your hand do what your eyes are doing, the better off you're going to be with aiming. Because then all you have to worry about is visually looking at the object. And as long as your eyes are seeing it, your hand is going to do exactly what your eyes are doing. So when you start speeding up more in this, I really want you to start focusing on the clicking of the 3. So like when I see 3 in a row, like when they're, you know, they're stacked on top of each other, I know that I can just click 3 times really fast and just drag my mouse down, right? And I'm gonna hit all of those. You still want to have a little bit of like stop, not too much though. Like you don't want to do like a drive-by shoot, but you definitely want to stop a little bit on the target. That way you maintain being able to click exactly where you want, because you're always clicking on the slight stop, right? There, we maintained accuracy. And you see how our score is still technically, I always look at this number when I start doing this, especially in this one. My accuracy right now, the number is higher than this. Once I start seeing this consistency, I want to bring this number down and this number up, right? The more you bring this number down and this number up, that means you're getting fast enough that the loss of your accuracy isn't that detrimental. And the second you start doing that, you bring your accuracy back up, right? So to get to basically do that, you want to start moving as fast as you can almost click. Because if you can just think about how fast you can click and just registering the objects, a lot of times you'll find you'll stop thinking about your hand movement at all, and your hand will somehow just click these objects because you had seen it, and you will have no idea how the hell it happened because of how fast it's just registering. We're getting there. There we go. Score higher. And we can slowly bring that back. We probably do one more full as fast as we can kind of click without missing everything. You really just want your eyes and your peripherals to pick these things up. Because if you try to just move your eyes consistently to all of them, you're not going to be able to move your eyes fast enough. You kind of just want to use your peripherals, pick up all 3 of those at once. So you can see I need to click all 3 of those spots, and by the time you click that last one, you're already picking up where the next 3 are. There we go. That's the kind of score you want to see before you start slowing down. You want to be in the 90s with less than 90 accuracy. Because that means you are moving. You are bringing up, because if you don't start pushing your reaction time, like really pushing it, there's no way it's going to be able to get faster. You need to be able to react as fast as you can click. Let's slowly bring this back a little bit. Push into the 90 accuracy. I'm really focusing on just shooting parts of my screen and being able to just pick up those orbs and click on that orb as fast as possible. Not thinking about, you know, the movement of my hand too much. Like, the only parts I'm thinking about my hand are my hand grip, keeping it, you know, not too tight, not too loose. Like, you don't want to be not holding your mouse, because if you don't do that, sometimes you'll lift it off the ground if you have a super light mouse. You want to make sure the mouse is definitely on the mouse pad at all times. If it starts lifting off, you're going to get some weird things happening. And make sure to open up your wrist. Your wrist is going to help with getting speed on your flicks. Right? You don't want to just go all wrist sometimes, because sometimes you won't get it depending on how, you know, how far it is. But if you have a, you know, a nice good grip with your fingertips, nice and light, have a nice good wrist movement, sometimes you'll see where, you know, I've picked up the 3 orbs in my vision, but when I've hit one of them spawns way closer than the other one. You can react to that and hit that one on the way to the 3rd one. You don't always have to hit all 3 if you've already consciously rendered that one of them is closer and on the way. Now you want to try and keep a consistent flow as best you can. Alrighty, only 88. So scores have not been very good. Normally when I can normally maintain like 95, 96. Obviously, you know, trying to do a video makes you a little nervous sometimes. First video. Make some coffee. Alright, let's see what we can do here. Alrighty, 99. Not too shabby. Alright, next task we are going to do here is Microshot. Now, with Microshot, one of these targets is always going to be in the center. So it's going to be in the same spot every time, right? So you know, after you click this, if you just click the flicked one, it's going to be like over on the outside somewhere. You can flick back to this as fast as you physically can, because as long as you go back to the exact same mouse position, you're always going to hit that target. So you want to do the same concept as Gridshot. Start off a little slow, and then once you start feeling where that flick back is, you're going to start really being able to move in this one. It'll also help you with being consistent with where your crosshair is. Because if you're able to flick back to the exact same spot, knowing that the object's there, in a game like Apex, it's going to help you be able to control, you know, two separate angles, because you're going to be able to flick to those, you know, like those angles super duper duper fast and very, very, very precise, because you're always going to have that that muscle memory, right? So this same thing applies for Gridshot. Just go slow. Make sure you get the orbs clicked. If you do Gridshot first, you will find you won't have to go as slow on this. I am also not zoomed in right now. A lot of the time when I do this, I do zoom in. The first couple times I do not, simply because what this is going to do if I don't zoom in first is making zooming in feel slow. And what that's going to do is allow me to move my hand more, right? If I go the opposite direction and this feels fast, it's going to be really shaky and really hard to control. The opposite way, it's going to feel like you have extra control. Same concept of moving down DPI and moving down sensitivity, right? When you move down, you're going to feel like you have so much more control, but just like, you know, less ability to turn around. The score is super low. Don't care about my score on the first few tries. It's just about, you know, getting 100% accuracy, right? And definitely make sure, like, the way I'm sitting right now, I have my feet planted on the ground, like both feet on the ground. I'm trying to have my back a little straight. I kind of hunch over sometimes anyway, but you definitely want to have decent posture, or really good posture if you can. And I like to have, I like to have my hand a little bit further in front. Sometimes it gets, you know, down on my mouse pad and ends up closer to my body, but I feel I am definitely more accurate when my hand is further away. I don't want it like completely outstretched, but I don't want it too close to myself. Having a nice fingertip grip right now will definitely help. I even like to have my index finger sometimes really curved and almost further up on the M1. With certain mice, they have a flex further down, and it'll actually delay your click, right? So if you have something like that, you can push up here, and it'll make your clicks a lot faster. I won't say a lot, because it's probably like milliseconds, but it's definitely faster. Now I'm going to actually zoom in. I'm going to be holding M2 the whole time I'm doing this to enact me being, you know, down sights and the feeling of me being down sights. Because realistically, all I'm trying to do is click parts of my screen, right? If I see that it's, you know, 1 inch or 2 inches, I need to be able to to just click 2 inches over, just focusing on clicking that part of the screen, like seeing it, visually, visually comprehending how far away that object is on your screen, and then just clicking that spot of your screen, right? As long as you can just click that part of your screen and that's all you're focusing on, it becomes a lot easier. You don't have to think about moving your hand to that part of the screen. Just think about clicking that part of the screen. Almost like if, I don't know if you ever played baseball. Same idea as a pitcher. You don't want to think about throwing the baseball there. You just want to throw it there. Like, the more thought you put into it, the less accurate you're going to be. Right? You just want to like go through the muscle memory, go through the motions, visually see where you want to target, and then just like click it. And there's other things that I focus on in this. So as long as you are moving on a line in that direction of the target, well, let's say it's there, I can actually flick past it as long as I click fast enough, right? It doesn't matter if I actually go past it, right? As long as I'm clicking where that is, right? So just being able to click on the right time. If you think you're moving, if you feel like you're over flicking it, and that's where you're lining up your click, try just clicking earlier. If you click earlier with the same movement, you will still hit the target, right? So if you find yourself clicking too early, try clicking a little later. Most of the time, people are going to find they're clicking too late. Because sometimes, you can't always just get the stop right on the center, right? Sometimes it doesn't happen like that. But as long as you've clicked when your crosshair has moved over that object, you're still going to hit it, whether or not your crosshair stopped on it. Right? This is it's kind of counteracting what I was saying in Gridshot, but the goal is to get the crosshair on the target, right? And that's what what Gridshot was intended for. However, sometimes that doesn't happen. So you need to be able to understand that even if you overflick, you can still click at the right time. Because clicking at the right time is the only thing that matters. Like, whether or not your flick landed on the guy, if I flicked past him and I clicked at the right time, it's still going to hit him. So it doesn't matter whether my flick landed right on him. Right? So understanding that it's just about when you click. Now, I do have a slightly firmer grip when I'm trying to move a little faster. That is because I need to keep pressure on this mouse. It is super light. It's the Model O minus. And if I don't, it just keeps coming off the mouse pad. So I do have to keep a slightly firmer grip on this mouse. Sometimes some people like that as well. It comes down to personal preference a little bit. However, there's definitely certain merits to certain mouse grips. Especially with a claw type grip, I can control recoil with just my fingertips. Right? I don't even have to move my wrist, don't have to move. I can literally go around in circles with just my fingertips, right? So, that being said, if you have a fingertip grip and my palm is still hitting it. My palm is still here. But my fingertips allow it to move like almost underneath my hand as my palm slides up my mouse. So in terms of recoil, you can control recoil like that very easily just by putting a little bit more pressure on your fingers and pulling down. This is actually something I find is exceptional if you're finding you're not like you're having too many inputs in your mouse. So as in, like, you're not getting a straight line and you're your movement to one target, let's say if I was trying to go here, is like, you know, all the way over here doing like this kind of shit. If it's not just like direct, this will really help you, like a lot. Don't really focus on score here because the score doesn't matter. It's just getting that line trace. You don't want to be too slow with it, because if you find you're too slow, that means you're thinking too much about your hand movement. You still want to just visually see the target and move to the target, right? And you know what I mean? You don't really want to focus about drawing that line too much, because you still want to be able to allow your hand to just do what your eyes are doing. So draw the line with your eyes. What I try to do in this is see the object and allow my peripherals to comprehend whether or not I'm on that line. Right? I don't like to see my crosshair too much. Like, I'm not staring at my crosshair the whole time. I'm definitely seeing that, seeing the next one, drawing the line. Like, I'm more staring at the target than I am anything else in this. But once my peripherals picks it up, I can already basically get to that target. But it helps to be more precise when you're actually staring at the target, but you can visually start moving to that target based off your peripherals. As you can see, even now, I'm opening up my wrist even more to these. I'm getting more control in with my wrist on these tracks. The wrist movement is very good for control. Arm movement's very good for flicks. If you want to control those flicks, get that wrist in there. Arm's very good for quick movement, but if you're not getting that wrist in there as well, that quick movement is going to go to waste. Because you can make that movement, you can get to that target a lot faster with arm and wrist and be precise, because you can use that wrist to micro adjust. This is when you're trying to speed up a little bit. Just a little bit, getting the targets. Still trying to maintain on the line as much as we can. Not having too many extra inputs. Next one we are going to do, we are going into tracking. Alright, let's get into Switchtrack. Here I am going to be holding M2 just all the time. Now you want to, when you can, obviously if there's none other in the screen you can't do it, but as you're tracking one of them, you want to be seeing the next one you're flicking to and seeing the direction it's going. If there's a few of them on your screen, you can do the same concept as Gridshot and pick up, you know, 3 of them or 4 of them in a row, right? You really want to try to flick to that next target as fast as you can. And I can get into extra micro adjusting. You'll see I will get a little shakier when I get into it. The faster I get, the more I'm going to be doing very fast micro adjustments depending on what I need to do. So if I over flick, I need to be able to react and get that micro adjustment down. Then something like tracking like that, you can't, like if it was a wingman or something and I was just clicking once, that overflick wouldn't really matter, because I could just get the click timing, right? But because it's a tracking, I need to micro adjust an overflick, right? If you don't micro adjust that overflick, you are going to just miss a lot of shots. So you will see very small, almost shaky looking adjustments, but in reality, it's just super fast micro adjustments due to overflicks and like just readjustments basically. A lot of time too, what you can try and do if you realize you're overflicking a lot is look to underflick on an object that is I don't know, strafing in your direction. If you're, having to flick left and he's strafing to the right on your screen, look to underflick, because if you underflick on something like, if you have any sort of spray weapon, he's gonna strafe into your underflick, right? Rather than you having to readjust afterwards. Prime example of that is doing this. Getting here. If that was going left or right on my screen, if I flick in front of it, it's going to just continue into my crosshair. Let's do another one where I don't use M2. When you've used M2 for a while, I could feel the shakiness, almost as if I was not relaxed enough. Sometimes you just gotta, realize you might be too bent over, sit up straight, take a nice deep breath, and it really will help. Just tracking with M2, but moving without it. You still get the movement to the flick. This is just to ensure that, you're able to switch between the varying sensitivities of the optic change. You don't have to click M1 because it's just, it's not part of this. But just clicking M2 at the right time. You can click M1 if you feel like it. Alrighty. Do that a few times. The next task up here. Yeah, when he says do something simple here, I don't want you to do that. This intended purpose is to be able to click fast. This is what I use this for. It'll help with any kind of single fire fast shooting weapon, even burst shooting, anything. You want to be able to click 3 times before that thing even changes direction. So you're trying to, like, on those big ones, it's whatever. You're obviously not really gonna have trouble hitting those. On these small ones, what I do to hit those that fast is I pick up. Okay, so when I see the object, right, I see the direction it's moving. I know if I move my crosshair at a certain speed, like matching its speed, and I just click that background, like let's say it's here, and it's kind of moving in this area, and I just go bam, bam, bam. I know if I just maintain the same speed as that thing, I feel I hit that more percentage of the time. The background's not really moving realistically. It kind of shifts in a little bit in terms of FOV, but as long as you just click those parts of the background, you're going to hit that orb. Again, don't think about your hand that much. Have a nice loose grip. Keep a nice comfortable grip. And just allow your eyes to pick up the object and just let your hand run. Just let your hand move to that object and focus on just clicking. As long as your eyes render that and you're just focusing on clicking certain parts of your screen, it's going to be a lot easier to hit anything. I'm doing this without M2 right now. You can also do it holding M2. I'm really focusing on making sure that your crosshair doesn't move up and down that much, because it is basically straight across that you have to move. Now you can go and do a whole bunch of other things. Lots of things are great in here. Motionshot is really good. It goes from flicking to a set target, like a set spot, to flicking to a moving target, which is exceptional after you've done all the other things that
Motionshot.
have been in this video. Once you do those, you're going to find that your tracking of the next target and your flicking to the original is going to be very good. You can predict where things go. You don't just have to, flick to the target and just hit it instantly, right? You can flick over there and track it. And just make sure you hit it. As you saw the little whip there on that one, that was just understanding, click timing. I micro adjusted and it happened to be a little whip, which does happen a lot. There is focusing on definitely the tracking of the second one. There's ways to do this where you just start clicking spots of your screen. The more you do this, the more you just figure out how to click spots of your screen. You'll be able to click those small ones a lot faster. Alright, next thing. We're going to go to Sixshot. I want you to start off slow and just doing the same concept as Gridshot. I am holding M2 here. So just get a fast flick and then figure out where it is from there. Almost like a fast flick and then a micro adjustment. Until you can obviously get those fast flicks directly on. Again, it really helps to just see a few of them at a time and picture where they are on your screen at one given time. Because if you can just see how to click all those, like those 3 spots from any given spot. So like I'm here, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see where I have to move already in that rotation, right? And what I'm trying to do is flick to the next one on my click. Right? And then make sure I click the next one. Don't like flick from here and try and click as you're flicking over there. Like that's, later on you can get into that. But just make sure you're flicking as you hit the last target. And then if you have to micro adjust, micro adjust. And then make sure you stop on that target. Now once you start speeding up, you have to just trust in your ability to click at a right time. And on certain parts of your screen. Alright, last thing I want to show you. Kovaaks. So to get to where I was, you're just going to type in R99. Downline scenarios. You're going to go right here. Ascended R99-hard. You're going to click play. A few steps we're going to do here. First, we're going to start with no movement. Still working on just our mouse. Since AimLabs is also pretty much just mouse for what I've done and what I do on a regular basis. You don't even, at this moment, you don't even really have to click. You want to work on keeping it on target. When you get off, being able to flick back to the target and micro adjust all the time. What you can also think about is there's a speed that they're going, right? So if you match their speed with your mouse, the second they get off target, you need to be able to flick back and then match that same speed again in that direction. Right? That's what you're thinking about, is just flicking and speed of your mouse. As well, take into note the background. Don't just focus on the object itself. You do want to focus on the object itself, I guess, when you are, per se, just I don't even know. A lot of the time I switch back from background and the object, depending on if I'm gonna be, you know, shooting or not. Like if I'm shooting right now, I'm almost staring at the object. But I switch back and forth between the object and the background and picking up the object with my peripherals, because the background is gonna give me a lot of information. Right? If this object is on the left side of this background, I know he's probably going right. Especially if he's right on the edge, right? I know he's not going left, so I'm already predicting and staying on the right side of him. This side I'm going to stay on the left, right? You're knowing that he's probably coming back. Let's say there's a doorway here, right? And he's able to use that as cover. I need to know that that door's there, and know that he could possibly go through that doorway. And the only way to do that is to be able to use my peripherals and pick up that background at a consistent basis. I don't want to just stare at the background, but I don't want to just stare at the object as well, right? You want to be actively switching between like the background, where he is in the background, and your crosshair being on him. Because realistically, your crosshair doesn't even matter. I could cover my crosshair up. I could have no crosshair and still hit this guy, right? Because the center of my screen is where my bullets go, right? If I know that the center of my screen's there, I can cover up, you know, my crosshair and still hit this dude. I'm pretty damn sure I can still, yeah, I can cover up my crosshair and still hit this dude just by staring above him, right? So with that being said, you just have to register parts of your screen, right? That's all you really have to register. You don't need to be staring heavily at this guy, trying to like fucking go like this and really try and click on him. Like that is exceptionally harder to hit someone than to just shoot at parts of your screen, right? If I know, you know, this corner is, you know, let's say 2 inches from the middle of my screen, I know that this flick is 2 inches, right? And as long as I've looked over there and consciously rendered that corner, I'm gonna get over there really quickly and pretty damn accurately, right? So make sure you're nice and loose. When I'm tracking someone, I actually almost find having my arm barely touching the table to be best. Like barely on my mouse pad. Definitely getting my wrist, opening up the wrist as much as you can. Wrist aim is very, very good for tracking. Now, my palm right here is actually on the table when I go to track someone and I need fine movements. That is like a pivot point for me. Is this ball on the, like almost like your wrist, right where your hand meets your wrist? That bone there is like a pivot point for being able to control finer movements. Having a nice, you know, nice almost claw grip, getting your finger movement in as well. You don't want to be too loose with the grip, but not too tight as well. Once you feel comfortable with just shooting targets without moving, we're going to get into strafe patterns. There's a few different strafe patterns that I want to go through that will really help you with aiming in this game. In any game, realistically. I play a lot of Apex. 100% it will help you in Apex, but it will help you in just about any FPS shooter out there. Maybe not so much Counter-Strike because, you know, you fucking stand still a lot. But, who knows? Anything that there's lots of strafing in. Right now you're just focusing on clicking. You don't want to just go for the one clip. You just want to make sure you are clicking when your crosshair is on the target. Because every time you miss a bullet, like there's no point of shooting your gun if you're gonna miss it. In a sense, like obviously there's points and times where you're spamming edges like because they're far away and you're just hoping that they peek. Like that's a different story. But in terms of like a 1v1 gunfight, right up close like this, there's no point of you missing bullets. If you miss bullets, you're gonna die, right? It's just how it is with anyone who has good aim you're going up against. If they're not missing, if I slow down my clip even just a little bit and make sure I hit all my bullets, and you have to go for a reload or swap your weapon, you're gonna die. Even if it's just because I don't have to slow down that much, right? I can just slow down a little bit, make sure I'm on target, and make sure I'm hitting those bullets, right? And he's still gonna die a lot faster than he's gonna kill me, right? Obviously, you would like to work up to just straight one clipping, but make sure to understand to stop clicking when you're not hitting the guy anymore. You don't want to just keep spraying when you're out here and like, you know what I mean? You don't want to do that. If you're behind on your tracking, stop spraying. Stop spraying, micro adjust, continue clicking, right? So, strafe patterns. Strafe pattern number 1. We're going to match strafe. So, I'm going to not use W and S right now. I might just to like move to like the, closer to someone. But I'm just match strafing. So, I'm trying to follow that guy, get my crosshair on him, and then match the strafe. Because I move as fast as he does. Same in most of the game. You're moving as fast as the other dude. So if you are matching strafe, as long as your crosshair is on him, you're not going to miss. You don't even have to move your mouse at all, right? The only thing you have to think about when you're doing this is when he swaps and you don't have your crosshair on him, you need to micro adjust a flick. Once you micro adjust that flick to him, it's just like a flick and stop on him, because if you don't have to track him anymore with your mouse when you're doing it. It's just tracking with your movement. So micro adjust, track with my movement, right? And you'll find you can destroy these things if you just do that specifically. And obviously, make sure you stop clicking when you're not on the guy. Now this one does have a little bit of recoil you need to adjust for. So you do need to be making sure you pull down a little bit. This will really help you as well to read people's strafes. If you're paying attention to the background, as I was saying before, you're going to start to be able to predict when people are strafing. And as you can tell, when you match strafe someone who's going in one direction, you're not going to miss. as long as you're really paying attention. When I'm talking, it's kind of hard. But like things like that, I can hit like all headshots basically, like no problem as long as you're match strafing. So with this said, if you are you're playing a game and you are you're coming up behind someone, you have a little bit of damage on them, they turn around, they start strafing. If you can predict the direction that they're going to strafe and match strafe it, knowing that you're already up in the fight, you're just gonna hit all your shots and you're gonna win the fight. Because if you're up in a fight, if you don't miss anymore, they can technically not win the fight, right? As long as you are maintaining hitting your shots, they're not gonna win. So your main focus when you're up in a fight is just making sure that you hit your shots. Some of these techniques that I'm saying, like match strafing, are some of the ways that you can really easily make sure you hit shots. But however, you do have to realize that match strafing is going to make you easier to hit. Tracking with your movement is 10 times easier. Like once you get it locked in, you're on. Like there's nothing to do, right? You just hold one button down and you're actually not gonna miss a bullet, right? Tracking like this, or like tracking, even counter strafing, is a lot harder. Or even like actively dodge strafing and trying to like keep that on. If I was crouching, it's so much harder to just like hit all your bullets, right? Because you're constantly having to micro adjust. Obviously, I'm going to get into counter strafing and making that a lot easier so you're not micro adjusting as much. But match strafing is the easiest way to just hit all of your shots, right? Now, in things like Apex, there is recoil control that you can do for certain spray patterns. It works really well at long distance. If you are just like trying to beam someone running across in the open field, it works really, really, really well, because you're going to be able to essentially get your bullets on a complete line using your strafe patterns. But that's a whole different story when you're not facing someone directly in front and they're actively strafing you. All right, let's get into counter strafing. So counter strafing, much like match strafing, is just the opposite direction. With this being said, there's a lot of mouse movement you need to do, right? So you need to understand, if I need to shoot here, I need to be able to maintain my mouse moving there. Right now, what I'm really focusing on is just making sure I can keep my aimer on this person while counter strafing. So every time he moves one direction, I move the other direction and make sure I'm pulling, like I'm almost using my wrist to like track across. And I'm trying to just think about the speed at which that object is going to move in the opposite direction and how much I have to move my wrist. Because once I start holding that trigger down, if I'm going to spray them, I got to be able to follow that at the same rate. You still want to take into account the background, as always. Understand which way they're probably going to go. Obviously, if they're in the wide open field, in a flat area with zero cover, it's a little bit harder to predict that. However, depending on where their teammates are, you might even still be able to predict a general direction. You see my my movement speed there? See how when I adjust AD, there's a spot where it hits 0, right? No matter what I do, there's a 0 spot. If I use a roll of all of AWSD, I can maintain a speed that is not ever 0. I guess it's a speed, I don't even know how exactly that works. But this kind of movement, and you're going to be able to not only dodge someone in front of you, but someone beside you. You know, you get those times where you're trying to dodge this guy, and then this guy basically just gets free shots because he's just like, you know, you're not strafing me, buddy. Like you're just staying in one spot, right? But if you're actively going forward and backwards on strafes, this guy's gonna get messed up. This guy's gonna get really messed up, and you might actually be able to kill them both, right? You're gonna keep that speed up, so you can incorporate the forward and backwards movement into your match strafe, and then do the same thing into your match strafe and then into your counter strafe, right? So you don't have to always hit those, right? You don't have to always go back and forth. Like you can swap between, you know, just going back and forth, hitting up twice, hitting back twice, you know, like just controlling your movement to the like a tiny extent, right? And then you can, you know, you can roll it back and forth, but just making sure that you're getting good control and just taps of these keys. Like almost like tapping W, tapping S. But I can ASD, and then like tap S, tap forward, you know. Keep not tap any of them, just go back and forth, and then I can go in like rolls. You can use this movement. If you get really quick with these, you can micro adjust and get into, you know, match strafe to counter strafe, right? And you can get into all this stuff that will extremely help your aim, right? I can, you know, let's just go like, let's try to counter strafe to match strafe, right? You can do like any of these combinations. If you just practice all of these and get good at them, no one's movement is gonna mess you up. Obviously, there's gonna be some people that like they're gonna be ducking and stuff, but that's just understanding crosshair placement. Because if you realize the guy's an active ducker, you just aim lower, right? And you have to take essentially if that guy's an active crouch dodger, you just have to understand that you're not going to hit him for that many headshots, and you have to just aim for the body at that point and hope some of the spray might go to the head because he's crouching into it. You just have to make sure that, because body shots, think about this. Any body shot down here, even down here, shooting him down here is better than shooting up here. If he crouched, let's say he crouched, and that's actually him crouching. Any of these bullets down here are better than shooting up here because none of these hit. It did nothing, right? I'm trying to go for the head, but he's crouching. But screw it, he's crouching way too much. So I'm just going to aim down here. I'm just going to say screw trying to hit all these headshots. I'm going to instantly adjust. The second I see him start crouch spamming, instantly adjust to lower. And just take the body shots, you know? You can obviously... you can't crouch in this, which sucks, but... crouching, you can get in. I will do another video strictly for Apex training for firing range, and then it will get more into like the recoil control stuff and all that stuff. But definitely try to incorporate, you know, your match strafing with your movement, with your moving a little forward, a little bit backwards, and then get match strafing into counter strafing, and just work on that. Because if you start working on that a lot, your movement's going to be very, very, very hard to predict for a lot of people, because your aim is based off of, or your movement's based off of their movement, right? And if the more sporadic their movement is, the more sporadic your movement becomes. But you also gain control over your movement, because you can still understand when to match strafe them, right? You can still understand when to counter strafe them. And as long as you really put all these things together, you know, you're just gonna start outgunning people all day. You know? The more you do this, the more you can start just focusing on the headshots. Making sure that crosshair is at this level. Right? This is where their head was, right? This is the level of their head in the map. Basically around here. Right? So as long as I'm aiming at that part of the map, I'm gonna be up at the head, right? Other things you can do when you're strafing, for match strafing, specifically actually, tap the other key. So if you find you know, you're just walking in some direction. You tap your A key, you're gonna randomly see how it like slows down. And the more you like delay the tap on that, the more you're gonna get this like jittery movement in one direction, right? It's just not gonna be a linear movement for them. You can also micro adjust like your aim with this if you really felt like it. But it really helps with it's just being, you know, sporadic with your movement in a sense where it looks non-linear, but it's not really messing with your aim. You definitely want to make sure you do get good at using your whole mouse pad. You don't want to constantly be going like this and staying directly in the center of your mouse pad to like do everything. Like if someone's behind you, sometimes you don't want to like go like this and reset your mouse. You want to just, you know, look over here and then use this part of your mouse pad. Look over there, use that part of your mouse pad. Look over there. Sometimes you even have to use that and readjust a little bit, right? If you have a bigger mouse pad, it'd be great. But you don't want to constantly be like, you know, readjusting by taking your mouse off the mouse pad. That's going to cause you to be really slow getting to targets and very inaccurate. When the bot changes direction, I tend to unclick because unless you predict it very well, the timing of their strafe, you're gonna end up coming off a little bit. And even just those 2 bullets that you missed could have been completely saved just by unclicking and clicking when you have readjusted, right? And those 2 bullets might actually, you know, win you. Because there's no point of shooting them anyway. You might as well just shoot them when you have readjusted. Obviously, the more you get into it, you want to speed up your reaction time. So seeing and hearing the, you know, the respawns. I heard that one on my right. I know after I kill this one, there should be one on my right and one behind me. 2 on my right now from here. One on my left. I think one behind me. Is that below? No, behind me. You can switch between strafing and even not moving sometimes. Sometimes, you know, you can do that. Let's say you're in a doorway and you don't have the ability to strafe so much. You need to learn how to like move over, shoot, get back, right? Sometimes you still have to track someone. So you need to understand how to, in practice, how to like move a little bit and track someone without your movement. As much as match strafing is really easy to hit someone, obviously not moving, it's also fairly easy to hit someone. When I'm trying to aim like this and I get more into it, I actually lose that pivot point. I don't actually have my palm on my mouse pad at all. I'm trying to stay a little higher on the mouse and make sure the mouse doesn't randomly come off the mouse pad. Almost like keeping a little bit of pressure downward. You know, obviously on like 180s and stuff, you might have to, depending on where your mouse position already was, you might have to obviously throw your mouse. But on things like 180, like 90s, if you already have good mouse position, you can move to here. You're gonna be okay to not have to lift your mouse off. If you want something that will help you just like, you know, render the background and stuff more, literally stare at the background. and just use your, like, you know, stare at the background in like your clear vision, what you're focusing on, and then just pick up the bot, you know, within that vision, and then shoot him. Try working on that for a little bit, and then go back to like seeing the object as well, and you can start seeing the whole image as like one piece, rather than seeing like, you know, one or the other. You can switch between these things to really help you, you know, predict people's strafe patterns, you know, understand where people might be going. This will definitely help you start clicking, you know, in the locations that you want. Like if I want to shoot here, it's going to help me click here. If I want to shoot here, it's going to help me click here. If I want to shoot in that corner, or this corner, or that corner, or that corner. Alrighty, well, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you. I will be putting out an Apex recoil control and strafing guide fairly soon, I believe. This will help a lot of people who are trying to move over from controller to mouse and key, or haven't used mouse and key a lot. I started using mouse and key a few years ago. Only a few years ago. It was with Overwatch. Wasn't very good. Still wasn't even that good when I started playing Apex. Doing this every day, is on top of the firing range training, has 1000% helped my aim. There is no doubt about it that this has helped my aim. Now, obviously, you do want to be doing this all the time, like every day. Don't overwork yourself, but do it every day. Obviously, you can take some breaks, you know, random day breaks. Like, it's fine. It's not gonna kill you. I've been doing this for probably over a year now to get to where I am. But I'm sure you can do it a lot faster. You will see progress. Definitely should have shorter time than a year. I saw lots of progress. I'm continuing to see progress. But this will 100% help. But always push your reaction time and your flicks. So like when I'm shooting this guy, I'm going to be like staring at that other dude and try and flick to him fast as possible. So do all these things, you know, really push your flicking and your reaction. Don't worry about missing sometimes. You know, start off slow, get the accuracy, then really push yourself, then bring down the you know, the speed. Do this with anything that I've shown you, and it works wonders. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.